What is up, guys? It is Christ, and we are back with another video. This is going to be kind of a new type of content for me, and I'm actually kind of nervous, simply because I don't really know how this is going to turn out. I don't know how much people are going to like it, but this is a new type of content that I definitely plan on making in the future, so hopefully if you like this format, you may like what this series will turn into eventually. So if you're reading the title, you're probably wondering what it means. Devil's Advocate, what does that mean? What is this series supposed to be about? Well, I have been toying with an idea for a very long time about starting a series called Devil's Advocate, and this is just quickly before we get into the video to sort of explain what this sort of format is, and so that you guys have a clearer understanding of the type of topic that I'm going to be making. So Devil's Advocate, I wanted to create a series that was called that, and basically what it is I take an opinion of mine, or I take an unpopular opinion, and I defend it. And it's mainly to be used for like common sense type of things. Like, for example, there's people that just give a whole bunch of unwarranted accusations against a bunch of different bands, albums, songs, you name it. There's 1,000 people in every blabbermouth comment section ripping apart any band. Doesn't even matter what that band is. It could be a band that's universally loved and you'll still get 1,000 comments about that kind of thing. So that's something that I will definitely bring into sort of the mix in the future. I will definitely try and sort of show some of their I guess comments and that kind of thing. I definitely want to do something like that. But this one's just sort of a more topic that I have just been really thinking about lately. I did the Metropolis Part 2 video today, the demo, and so it really got me thinking about this. So now we're going to get into the actual discussion, the meat and potatoes of this particular topic, this discussion, this video. So Metropolis Part 2 is an absolutely amazing album. The story takes you through an absolutely amazing roller coaster of ups and downs, sad moments, horrifying moments, shocking moments, and anything in between. It's an absolutely amazing album that would stand on its own legs as an actual novel, and it was actually inspired by an album, not an album, by a movie called Dead Again, which I think there was actually one that came before that. I believe I had read something about Dead Again being actually a remake or like inspired off of another thing. But the point still stands, is that it's a really cool story, and that Dream Theater definitely used some inspiration. Now, what sort of got me is that the whole concept is about this person who's experiencing past life regression, essentially, is what it is. He is seeing memories of someone from his former life, and so he goes to a hypnotherapist to try and sort of get these memories out, to try and make himself remember what these type of things are. And so he goes on this crazy journey throughout Metropolis Part 2, where he finds out that his past self had been married to someone who was addicted to drugs and gambling. It was either drugs or alcohol, one of the two, possibly both. Right? He could have done all three. But we know for a fact that he did, at the very least, gamble and do, I believe, alcohol. I think there was some mentions in Home about specifically, I'm pretty sure it was all three, because there were some lines take me higher, and then the city will drown me or something like that. I can't remember exactly verbatim what it said. But essentially, this woman, Victoria, was married to someone who was essentially a no-life, and perhaps he didn't start out that way, but that's not really discussed or anything like that. But his brother Julian ended up falling in love with Victoria, and they ended up having a secret affair. Well, Edward ended up killing them, and so that's just sort of, I believe his name was Edward. I hope I didn't get that wrong. But point still stands. He ended up killing both of them because of the relationship that he found out. And so it's revealed at the end of Finally Free that not only was Nicholas Victoria, but the hypnotherapist was also heavily suggested to be Edward as well, which is kind of like mind-boggling. It was definitely shocking the first time, and it still sends goosebumps down your spine when you hear that, when you hear the final Nicholas, open your eyes, Nicholas. So that's definitely a really cool section, and the whole Finally Free song is absolutely amazing. However, I have trouble in my mind keeping it as canon. This is where the Devil's Advocate portion comes in. My opinion of a particular thing. So we know the whole story, right? We know that Victoria and Julian ended up dying. They ended up being killed, and Edward framed... he ended up framing... We know that Edward ended up framing Julian in the sort of murder-suicide. That's essentially what he did. And it wasn't questioned until Nicholas unearthed the past and ended up finding out all this information. Now, what really doesn't make sense to me is that it's fine if, I guess, the hypnotherapist is Edward, but what doesn't make sense is him killing her. I want you guys to think about this. I mean, is killing Nicholas. I want you guys to think about this. Even if they both are reincarnated versions of their former selves. For example, if Nicholas is Victoria, and then the hypnotherapist, I don't even think he even has a name, is the reincarnated version of Edward, what realistically, what would have happened in that particular situation? Probably an awkward exchange, if that, there's no reason that the past has to repeat itself. And that's sort of the biggest problem I have. And keep in mind, this is just nitpicky at the very end. I totally understand it's like, it's poetic, like, in nature, but it doesn't make sense to me that, that anything would happen to Nicholas. It doesn't say that Edward, killed Nicholas, but he did break into his home, and Nicholas ends up screaming right before, like, the record scratches, obviously, and there's never any sort of more information on that, and it boggles my mind how a lot of people say that the hypnotherapist ended up killing Nicholas. Now, I don't think he did. I really don't think that the hypnotherapist ended up killing Nicholas at the end of Finally Free. I think what probably happened is he probably told Nicholas that he was a reincarnated version of Edward as well, and just it doesn't make sense that that the hypnotherapist would kill Nicholas, even if both of them are reincarnated versions of their former selves, because you can't really, even if he was concretely found to be like the actual murderer in a previous life, you can't exactly try that in a court of law, right? And that's just the whole biggest problem I have with Metropolis Part 2, and it's such a small thing, but every time I hear that section, I just think about that, like, okay, this is entirely unrealistic. Aside from that, I absolutely love the album, and I've told you guys that this is like my favorite album of all time now. Let me know what you guys thought of this, what you guys thought of my sort of opinion on what happened at the end, and do you even consider that canon? Do you consider that part of the actual story? Do you consider it more speculative? Like, what, in your opinion, happened to Nicholas at the end of Finally Free? I would definitely love to know all the answers to that in the comment section down below. Guys, that is going to be all for this video. If you guys want to see more of this type of video, it could be anything about arguing unpopular opinion, defending a specific band, talking about a particular album. Please let me know the answer to all those down in the comment section below. I am definitely wanting to sort of expand into more discussion-based territory, and I'm not trying to steer the channel towards that, just in addition to that. And this has been on my mind for quite a while, and I'm glad to finally get it out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing about it. Anyways, without further ado, we'll see you guys later.